Good morning, and welcome back to another long rest. My name is Brandon,
And I'm Logan.
and today we're going to be talking about working as a team in combat.
So,
Hard concept?
yeah, apparently
Can be,
it
yeah.
can be, which is why we're talking about it here today. Um, Truthfully, the key to working as a team in combat is communicating with each other above table, but also in character, and it can be done both ways. Um, for the starters, just to communicate above table, you have to be actively listening to the other turns,
Yeah.
as well as getting ready for your turn. That way, when it is your turn, you're not putting a huge halt on combat itself while you take 2 minutes to research which spell is going to be the best.
That is a very strong point. When it is not your turn, you are being, as Logan said, an active listener. You're not on your phone scrolling TikTok. You're not on your Clash of Clans account. Like you are watching, like even though you just finished your turn, DM just moved to the guy next to you or the girl next to you, whoever, and you are still in the game. Because every decision that is made from how many people tell you again is going to directly impact what your decision will be.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not paying attention, all you're going to do is cause frustration and potentially really slow down that combat and put a damper in where that moment might be.
Mm-hmm.
So, excuse me, there's another point I want to make real quick before I hand it to you. When you have those moments and when you're working together, that guy next to you might have just said, well, I'm going to hold my action for the Grave Cleric to do his channel divinity that makes it a
double damage
yes. shot, right? He's before you, that Grave Cleric now goes before you, and then you pump out, I used this example before, but an Eldritch Blast. And so now, cool, your D10 is doubled, but your Paladin or your Rogue or anybody that's right next to them, that Ranger that like is going to be able to pump some pretty decent damage, and that good mark just got baffled because of it.
Yep.
So that's a pretty negative situation, I know, but it is probably a pretty common occurrence.
Yeah, and that's the prime example of making sure you communicate above table. Because obviously above table, you shouldn't be telling the other characters what spells to do. Sure, you can give hints, and maybe, like, especially if they don't know the class as well, you might say, like, hey, this is a cool feature. You know, just throw that out there so that they might go, oh, yeah, you're right. I do need the Hunter's Mark.
Well, yeah, like you get to a late game, there's a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
you know?
Absolutely.
So somebody else remembers something for you. Like, thank you.
Yeah.
I can't believe I forgot that.
Yeah. But on top of that, know the limits in game, how much your characters can communicate between each other. Because every round is 6 seconds. So know that precedence from the get-go and what your DM and the table has agreed to on how much you can communicate.
Yeah.
I'm a proponent for, even if it's not your turn, if you want to throw in a quick response. I would imagine, initiating a conversation or a verbal exchange would have to come on your turn, but any response could come on that same turn as well. You don't have to wait till your next turn to respond. Dependent, I guess.
No, absolutely. I was just going to say, and I think communication gets lost a lot of times in combat, just because you get so focused on what you're going to do.
Yeah.
But it can be very important to do that stuff in character.
It builds richness to your characters.
Yeah.
Because a fight is not going to be silent.
No.
It's going to be chaos of people yelling at each other, asking for help, explosions, the sounds. There's a lot going on, and it's not just, I roll a 16, doesn't hit. There's a lot more going on. You need to be in the moment.
Absolutely.
Of what combat feels like to your characters and how they're communicating to each other to effectively battle.
Yeah, and there's times where combat, an outside environmental force might be happening, and there could be communication through that. In character, really adds, like, everybody knows what's going to happen. So like, say you were trying to return this sword into this monument, and if you don't do it in time, the room continually floods. Something super simple like that, but like, hey, communicating, like, I have the sword, but I'm trapped behind this thing. I need to hand you, Logan, the sword, and you're going to have to, like, get to the next guy and get to the next person and the next person to be able to put it in there. Like, something along those lines, like, being able to communicate that through the game in those moments is really help, I think.
Yeah. Think of it like, in the movies where they have to pass an item off between each other, one person will say catch, and then they hold their action to wait till the rogue is ready to catch it and then keep running, So there's easy ways to communicate in game to make your guys' movements and attacks in combat more coordinated. And that's just as simple as communicating above table with your intentions and what you're doing, but then also communicating in game.
Following through to the end game
Yes,
side.
absolutely.
And you can do it on the flip side of the coin, whereas you're not paying attention. And what do? I open my spell book and I look down and I go, that's a lot of guys. I don't know if there's any of my guys in there. And I launch a little fire emote that flies and blows up. And I cast Fireball and I hit 50% of my team.
Right. Yeah. And it's as easy as like, everybody get out of there. I'm going to cast Fireball.
Yes.
Hey, now they know. Either they made the choice to stay in that Fireball.
Yeah.
Or you're letting them the opportunity to get out.
Right.
Simple as that.
Yeah. And you know, that also is a proponent of not paying attention to the table. If you didn't notice that somebody else was around here, you might not be able to visually see on the board that maybe the rogue is hiding behind this box, even as mini, you know?
Yeah.
But if you were listening, you could have heard that he said he went there. And you cast Fireball and you just roast your teammate. And he's like, hey, man, what the heck?
Yeah.
You know? Those are strong moments. Another really strong moment is somebody on your team cast a utility-based spell, like Web, for example. Really cool spell. Could put a lot of enemies in a bind. You cast Fireball or Firebolt or Scorching Ray, something of the fiery effect, into that web. Well,
it catches on fire. It erupts the whole area in flames, potentially getting other people on fire.
And especially if it just happened.
Yeah.
Like, I did it and then you cast it right after me.
We're not speaking from experience at all here. In a pivotal fight that almost ended in a TPK because I webbed an enemy, restrained him perfectly, and then another character was like, hey, I don't see the web. Blap, 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 Scorching Ray. Immediately released the rampaging troll. And borderline got everybody down.
Yeah.
It was tense. And my character was mad at his character for his ignorance.
Which, all feelings were valid, yeah. But you know, in those moments, it was like, darn.
Yeah.
I literally just casted the web spell. And then I kind of just felt futile at that point. Like, everything I just did, I wasted that spell slot.
But it did make for a good growing moment between me and the other character where we had the web spell come up multiple times later on, and he would not cast fire spells specifically. He'd make a comment about it, but he wouldn't. It became a joke. But regardless, there's other instances of spells that you can cast that somebody's just like, nah, never mind, I'm ignoring that. All the charm spells. If somebody's hit, breaks free the charm.
Yeah.
And it's pretty hard to keep people charmed. So imagine how frustrating that would be if you spent your resources to charm somebody and then some dum-dum that wasn't listening was just like, nah, never mind, and then uncharms them, and now the whole thing that you were working towards is bust.
Yeah.
Or another one is it Dancing Lights?
What spell are you thinking of?
It's the one that dazzles everybody in a spot. I wrote it down here. Hypnotic Pattern.
Hypnotic Pattern.
Yeah, so that one completely freezes people until they get it damaged. So I've had instances in the past campaigns where we'd walk into a big enemy fight and the bard would Hypnotic Pattern as many people as possible. We'd pick off the people that are not affected, and then we would pick one enemy at a time and just solo them out. And like from an enemy's standpoint, I started having fun with it.
Yeah.
Because I was like, as a rogue, you know, I was the one going off and finishing the guys that are paralyzed. And so I was getting to this narrative point where the bard would be concentrating in the back, and then this rogue is just dancing happily through the people and just slaughtering his enemies and picking them off and watching them one by one and being like, you're next, buddy. Shadow of the Dragon Queen got crazy, okay? But regardless, it was a really cool moment that was just intimidating to the other forces, because me and the bard worked this plan out.
Yeah.
You know, and the other characters would protect me and him so that we could enact this plan. If there was somebody else, the barbarian would rush off to the other side and take care of them. So it was this massive coordination that we did that was ultimately really effective and helped us to survive an incredibly deadly campaign.
And it worked because you guys coordinated those plans.
Yeah.
And I think that coordination can go in many different fashions. I think, you know, when you start talking about combat, coordinating your round potentially with your other players can be very fun and effective.
Yeah.
And add so much more element than just saying I attack. Excuse me, you know, so like The barbarian, instead of swinging his axe, he decides to wrap up and try to grapple, potentially even get to restrained if the right feats are in place. But the enemy, that in turn leads the monk to just being able to mollywop him while the barbarian just holding him or has got him in a full Nelson. Different cool moments that it's, how do you word it? It's an interesting aspect because sometimes you not doing damage can lead to far more damage, and sometimes it's hard to trust that.
Right. Yeah, if you can support your teammates in what they're doing to make everything that they do so much cooler, let's get after it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's a game about teamwork at this point, and this is the perfect opportunity.
Yeah, it's okay to do something a little more funky and a little bit of a different choice than maybe is the norm, but as long as it leads to like a cool aspect and you're really progressing the positivity of that fight, like in your direction by positivity, why not?
Yeah.
Let the mind run.
Yeah, and this is the part where it really boils down to communicating your intentions. If you go up and you start full Nelsoning somebody, and then everybody else runs and targets somebody else because they think you have them, in reality, you got this guy in a headlock so the monk can come bully his ribs like nobody's business.
Yeah.
Treating him like a Rocky Balboa meat
locker. I was about to say, that's exactly what I was just going to say.
And instead the monk runs off and says, hey, the barbarian's got this. Yeah. And so then you're just in a grapple battle. Maybe not your intentions, you might be a little frustrated, and it might bar you from doing it again.
True.
But if you communicated, monk, come get him, I've got him, right? Done deal. That's a perfect moment between the two.
Yeah, no, that's just a cool moment.
It is,
giving that monk that opportunity to mollywop that guy.
Yeah, I like
it's just fun. And in those coordination efforts, you have different spells at the same time, right? We can buff, we can debuff, we can crowd control. Those are your three big sections.
Yeah, and all of everything that you do when you're coordinating can help each character role fill it better. If you need that barbarian to get up there and tank damage as fast as possible, well, let's haste him. Not only is he going to be a menace,
absolutely.
I think it gives you a buff on your AC, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, +2, at least old rules were.
And
haven't looked at it.
Plus it makes you faster. So this barbarian is going to get to the front lines quicker, better, faster. That means he's going to protect the wizards, who can continue to concentrate on haste,
harder, better,
cast
stronger.
Other spells, do a lot of damage. It combos into the coordination, allows each character to be more effective. And you guys feel like the heroes that you really are.
Yeah, and hit him with a debuff. Like if the party's split between these two battles going on, and this side's getting whooped, hit him with a bane. Find a way to start to bring that victory back to your guys' side.
Yeah.
Those are the moments where you can really shine with those debuffs or those crowd controls with a web. Let them get away. Charm that captain of the guard or of that orc that's leading these guys. Get them, just tell them, hey, these guys are totally cool. Don't mind them. We're gonna leave them alone. Finding those ways to help those moments.
One thing that kind of got my gears spinning is the coordination inside combat is what's going to make you more effective. But we've all been in those situations where everybody acted as an individual in combat, and that combat went horribly.
Yeah.
And then everybody's beating themselves up because they did this, they did that, they did this, whatever. You're breaking it down at the campfire at the end of the day, and everybody's down on themselves. And then you guys got to say, well, what if we worked together? And then that next combat comes around and you do those combos that you were planning and trying to do, but it's executed properly and the enemies go down and you guys walk away from that combat scratch-free. And you're like, dang, that was cool.
Yeah.
That was an awesome moment.
Yeah, and you find out real quick, we're strong.
Yeah.
We can do a lot, especially when we work together in these moments, and the cohesion outside of combat really starts to flourish.
Yeah.
And you see that really cool vibe of how that combat really affects the role-playing side of it. So
I think that's one of my big things that I like about combat. I mean, one, it's fun. Lets you explore things that we can't do as normal people.
Yeah.
But it also gives your characters reasons to be pulled together, because nothing pulls you quicker together like shared traumatic experiences.
Very true.
That pulls the party together like nobody's business.
Yeah, very true.
And I think that's a lot of the fun, is going through that traumatic battle and then as a party getting better. Each individual gets better. The story gets better. And then you go whoop some butt.
Yeah. And if we find ourselves here back on the battlefield too, outside of even just like your characters and your party, knowing the surrounding terrain, topography
Yeah.
that is in that fight, and using that to your party's advantage is also really important. I think sometimes it's very easy to see big bad evil guy run big bad evil guy and attack, and not try to sometimes say a ranger, or finding different ways for those features and traits of those classes that could really flourish in these opportunities, allowing the rogue to like sneak behind stuff. If you guys were all to step back, there's a lot more places to hide, or a lot more places to move around between. But if we step up in here in this big open valley, well, now we're not really working together. I'm really diminishing what aspects your class really brings to the table now, because as a barbarian, I've separated this big bad evil guy really far away from you guys.
Yeah.
Because I decided to go meet him in this section instead of trying to draw him in. Just kind of a thought I was just thinking about in that regard, but that allows the party to work, more as a team.
That kind of makes me mad, because in my head, I'm thinking how cool it would be to outsmart somebody in a battlefield where you are in the tactical superiority. I don't know if I've ever gone into a fight in initiative and been like, yes, we have the tactical advantage. We're always on our heels, even if we knew that combat was coming up. So like, why don't we do more things to help ourselves in the combat? And it's truly as simple as that, just coordinating a little bit beforehand.
Yeah. And it's even in that first round,
Yeah.
like when the DM says roll initiative, and you go and you can see him, like he's 100 feet away from you, and it's inevitable. This is insight. This is happening. Whatever.
Yeah.
Instead of going and engaging them, let's play to our strengths and pull them back here.
It turns from 6 half or quarter CR kobolds into 6 coordinated pack tactics, sneak attacked little gremlins that are going to whittle your party down.
Yeah, very true.
So, I don't know. Yeah. With anything like that, how do you guys feel you can work best as a team in combat? Do you have some really cool moments, or moments that really said, wow, we need to work on this? But
yeah, we know you have them.
Yeah.
We all do. We've all got
comments.
Funny
give us your advice. Give us your experiences. We'll start a conversation.
Hey guys, thank you for tuning in to today's episode of The Long Rest. Make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you enjoyed it, and come back next Saturday. We'll have another Long Rest coming for you. And if you're looking for a new podcast,
check out Commander's Log every Wednesday at noon. It's a Spelljammer-based homebrew campaign
where we play one-on-one D&D.
One-on-one.
A little different. So hey, check us out. Everyone needs a new favorite podcast. We'd love to be that for you. Guys, thanks for tuning in, and we will see you next week. See ya.